Page 191, problem number 2. In a survey on the president's job performance, 62 out of 100 Californians approved, while 290 out of 582 New Yorkers approved. Are these results different at a 95% level of significance? Well, if we just calculate these, out of the people we surveyed, 62% of the Californians approved. Out of the New Yorkers we surveyed, that's less than half, less than 50% approved. So are they significantly different, or is it just the people we chose happen to answer our survey questions this way? So is the percent of Californians who approve of the president's job significantly different than the percent of the New Yorkers? So let's set up our hypotheses. So first of all, our null hypothesis. So what we assume before we collect any data is that the percent of Californians who approve of the president is equal to the percent of New Yorkers who approve of the president. What we're trying to show is that these percentages or proportions are not equal, that these are different. So our null hypothesis, we assume that the proportion of people in each group that approve is the same. What we're trying to show is that the proportion of people in each group who approve is not the same. So what kind of tests are we going to use? Well, we're comparing two proportions. So looking at that, I should spell this correctly. Looking at that, the only choice we have is the two proportion z test. We're comparing proportion of Californians to the proportion of New Yorkers. Okay, now at this point we could use a formula. We could pull out our calculator. Let's let our calculator do the work for us. So I'm going to press my stat key and go over to tests. Now if I look at the sixth choice in this list, it's two proportion z-test. Okay, now X and N. X stands for the number of people, in this case, who approve. N is the total number of people surveyed. So for the Californians, 62 out of 100 approve. For the New Yorkers, 290 out of 582 approve. We're testing if these proportions are equal or not equal. So let's go down to calculate. Now we've got a bunch of information here. What we really need is this p-value right here. Now p-hat is the proportion of New Yorkers and Californians. What we really need is this p-value. So I'm going to write down p is about equal to 0.024. What does this mean? Well, p is a probability. So this is like saying the probability that the proportion of all Californians and New Yorkers is the same is only about 2%. It's like saying if we were to select samples of 100 Californians, 582 New Yorkers, if those groups were the same, the chance of these percentages happening is very, very small, only about 2%. So since p is less than 0.05, what we do is we reject our null hypothesis, meaning we have significant evidence that tells us that if we asked all the people in California, all the people in New York their opinion, we think those opinions would be significantly different. So we're rejecting our null hypothesis.